The forest was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the heavy, unnerving kind that settles before something bad happens. It was early morning, and the trees stood tall and still, their branches stiff in the cold wind. The sunlight barely touched the forest floor. Not a bird chirped. Not a single leaf moved. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath. And then something stirred. A small figure limped out from behind the brush. A German shepherd puppy, no more than 4 months old. His fur was dirty and matted. His eyes, once full of puppy innocence, were clouded with fear. He moved slowly, carefully, his front leg bruised and limping. He was alone. He didn't remember how he got there. All he remembered was a loud noise, the truck doors slamming shut, and the sound of tires spinning away into the dust. 1 minute, he was someone's pet. The next, abandoned. And now, he was fighting for survival in a place where nature had no pity. The pup, later to be named Shadow, sniffed around for food, anything to keep his strength up. He had survived off berries, leftover scraps, and rainwater for days. But hunger was winning. Then suddenly, a deep, thunderous growl rolled through the trees. Shadow froze. His ears perked. His eyes widened. Another growl, louder, closer. Before he could react, the bushes behind him exploded. A massive brown bear charged forward, its eyes wild with hunger. Shadow ran. Twigs snapped under his paws. Branches whipped across his face. He zigzagged through the trees, heart pounding. But the bear was bigger and faster. It roared behind him, crushing everything in its path. A huge paw swiped at Shadow's back leg. He yelped and tumbled down a rocky slope, rolling into the mud. Everything went black for a moment, and just when it seemed like the end was near, something impossible happened. A voice echoed through the forest. "Hey, get away!" A man burst through the trees, holding a burning branch like a torch. He ran straight at the bear, shouting at the top of his lungs. The bear halted. It reared up, sniffing the air. It didn't expect a human. "Back OFF!" the man roared again, waving the torch. After a tense moment, the bear grunted and slowly backed away. Then with one final snarl, it turned and disappeared into the shadows. The man dropped his knees beside the injured puppy. "Easy now," he said softly. "You're safe for now." His name was Daniel, a forest ranger who lived in a secluded cabin nearby. He had been out checking traps when he heard the noise. He scooped the pup up in his jacket and carried him home. Shadow was too tired to resist. That night, beside a warm fire, the journey of healing began, for both of them. Daniel had his own scars. He had once served in the army but left after a tragic loss during a rescue mission overseas. Since then, he had cut himself off from the world, choosing to live deep in a forest where no one asked questions. But when he looked at Shadow, small, injured, abandoned, he saw a reflection of himself. He cleaned the pup's wounds, gave him warm broth, and laid him on a soft blanket. At first, Shadow didn't trust him. He flinched at every touch. But Daniel was patient. He spoke in a calm voice. He never forced affection. Over time, Shadow began to respond. He started wagging his tail. He followed Daniel from room to room. He even barked for the first time. Just once, but it was enough to show he was coming back to life. Daniel decided to name him Shadow because he was always just one step behind, never leaving his side. Weeks passed. Shadow grew stronger. His leg healed. His coat became shinier. He played fetch with sticks and even learned how to open the cabin door using his nose. He also started protecting the cabin. Every time Daniel stepped outside, Shadow followed. If a stranger came near, Shadow stood between them and Daniel. Tail up, ears alert. Daniel started smiling again. He hadn't done that in years. He taught Shadow commands, but Shadow often acted before being told, as if he could sense what Daniel needed. One night, a bad storm hit. Thunder boomed. Trees bent under strong winds. The power went out. Daniel had trouble breathing from a cold that had worsened. Shadow climbed onto bed, pressed close, and barked until Daniel stirred and took his medication. That night, Shadow may have saved his life. They weren't just owner and pet. They were partners, brothers. Spring returned. Flowers bloomed, Rivers flowed freely, and birds sang again. But peace didn't last. One morning, Daniel noticed broken branches near the woodpile, claw marks on a nearby tree. He knew what it meant. The bear was back. Daniel took precautions. He kept Shadow close. He carried a flare gun, but nothing could prepare them for what came next. It was dawn. Mist covered the ground like a ghostly blanket. Daniel stepped outside with Shadow to gather firewood. Suddenly, a growl. The bear charged from the woods, more aggressive than before. It had returned to finish what it started. Daniel raised a flare gun, but the bear was already too close. Without hesitation, Shadow bolted forward. "Shadow, no!" He barked, growled, and leapt between Daniel and the bear. It was chaos. The bear swiped. Shadow dodged, but one paw caught his side and flung him across the field. Daniel screamed and fired the flare. A bright red blaze lit up the sky. The bear stopped, confused. It growled one last time, then fled. Daniel rushed to Shadow, tears in his eyes. Blood stained the grass. But Shadow was alive. Battered, but alive. Daniel wrapped Shadow in a blanket and held him all night. The pup whimpered in pain, but his eyes were brave. "You saved me," Daniel whispered. Again. For the next week, Daniel cared for him around the clock. Shadow healed slowly. They returned to their walks, their games, their quiet nights by the fire. Everything felt normal again, until one morning. Daniel woke up and Shadow was gone. No tracks, no scent, just silence. Daniel searched the entire forest, called out for days, left food outside, asked every ranger and neighbor, but nothing. It was as if Shadow had vanished into thin air. Daniel was crushed. He had lost a piece of his heart. But weeks later, a miracle arrived. A plain envelope appeared in Daniel's mailbox. Inside was a single photograph and a handwritten note. The photo showed a group of soldiers, military K-9 handlers. Among them stood a strong, alert German shepherd. The same sharp eyes, the same familiar stance. It was Shadow. The note read, "We found him wandering near our camp. He stopped a mountain lion from attacking a recruit during a night patrol. We took him in, trained him. He's now one of our best rescue dogs. We don't know where he came from, but he's got the heart of a warrior. Just thought someone out there might want to know. He's doing great." Daniel sat on his porch, holding the photo and shaking hands. Tears rolled down his face, but he was smiling. Shadow wasn't lost. He had found his purpose. Shadow became known across the unit as Ghost for his sudden appearance and unmatched instincts. He led several missions, rescued hikers during storms, and even tracked down lost children in the mountains. His story spread through military bases and rescue units. A pup once abandoned and attacked by a bear, now a hero. Daniel followed his journey from afar. He kept every letter, every update. And though Shadow never returned to the cabin, Daniel knew one thing for sure. Shadow never forgot him. He had simply found others who needed him more. And that's the kind of soul Shadow was: selfless, brave, unforgettable. From a scared puppy lost in the woods, to standing fearless against a bear. From being left behind, to saving lives on the front lines. Shadow's journey reminds us of something powerful. Even the broken can become heroes. Even the forgotten can leave behind a legacy. Shadow wasn't just a dog. He was a guardian, a fighter, a friend. And somewhere in the vast wilderness or deep in the heart of a rescue mission, a lone German shepherd still runs. Strong, proud, legendary.